Peace talks in Ukraine remain unsettled as new developments keep the battlefield and diplomacy intertwined. Trump has suggested that the road to a peace agreement is unclear, following what he described as a reasonably good discussion between Russian President Vladimir Putin and U.S. envoys. Although the talks did not yield a breakthrough, the door remains to further dialogue. After several hours at the Kremlin, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, plan to meet Ukraine's top negotiator, Rustem Umerov, in Florida on Thursday. In remarks to reporters from the Oval Office, Trump stated that Putin would likely want a deal, but warned that the outcome of any meeting depends on both sides agreeing to move forward. He added that the United States has a solid framework with Ukraine. Russia's Kremlin press briefing indicated that Putin had accepted some U.S. proposals aimed at ending the war and showed willingness to continue negotiations, though they cautioned that no compromises had yet been agreed. The parties agreed to keep the substance of their Kremlin talks confidential, but a key sticking point remains: the status of 4 Ukrainian regions that Russia has partially occupied. A Russian official noted that no territorial compromise had been reached, and without that, Moscow sees no path to resolution. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has insisted on not ceding territory captured by Russia, and said his team will continue meetings in the United States, maintaining that dialogue with Trump's representatives will proceed. He emphasized that a dignified peace must account for Ukraine's interests. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha pressed Putin to stop delaying and wasting time on the world stage. The negotiations come at a challenging moment for Kyiv, which has recently sustained battlefield pressure on its eastern front and faced a major corruption scandal during the war. Zelenskyy's chief of staff, who previously led Ukraine's peace delegation, resigned following a house search by anti-corruption investigators. Meanwhile, Russia's advances in eastern Ukraine have accelerated, with Putin signaling readiness to press on if Kyiv does not concede more territory. Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov, who participated in the U.S.-Russia talks, attributed shifts in negotiation dynamics to Russia's recent battlefield successes. In November, a leaked U.S. peace proposal sparked concerns among Ukrainian and European officials, who argued it favored Moscow by proposing that Ukraine cede territory and that Russia be readmitted to the G8, with Ukraine barred from joining NATO. European negotiators later offered a counter-proposal, and at talks in Geneva, the US and Ukraine presented an updated peace framework intended to end the war. Putin accused European powers of impeding peace talks by pushing ideas Moscow found unacceptable, while warning that Russia is prepared for war with Europe if necessary. Ukraine and its European allies have countered by accusing Putin of feigning interest in peace, with the UK and others urging Russia to return to the table and commit to a just and lasting peace. Some observers note that Putin's military actions continue to shape the negotiations. NATO and EU partners reaffirmed ongoing support for Ukraine, with continued military aid to maintain pressure on Moscow. The European Commission proposed financing Ukraine through a loan backed by Russia's frozen assets, including an option for the EU to borrow at the Union level. EU leaders are expected to decide on these options later this month as Kyiv faces a potential funding shortfall. In related actions, the UN General Assembly urged the immediate and unconditional return of Ukrainian children forcibly transferred to Russia. Ukraine accuses Russia of having abducted thousands of children since the war began in February 2022. The resolution passed with a coalition vote, though Russia rejected the measure. Source collaboration: Reuters, Associated Press, and Agence France Presse.